Turning to order, and we're going to take item 520 because we have people queued up to do that, and that is the Portland Development Commission budget. So I'm convening the council as the Portland Development Commission Budget Committee. Gina, do we need to call the roll? Please do.
Fish,
Here.
Saltzman,
Here.
Novick,
Here.
Fritz,
Here.
Hills.
Here. Okay. Patrick, welcome.
Welcome.
All right, let me see. Do I have a script for this? I probably do.
Yeah, we don't have much in the way of presentation. We
myself.
we handed out
Yep.
to you a memo.
There it is. Okay.
Updated memo.
Okay, I'm now calling a motion to consider the changes to the proposed budget as presented in the change memo and Exhibit A. So I'll make that motion to consider the changes to the proposed budget and the change memo and Exhibit A. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. PDC can now discuss the changes, including the change memo, if you want to.
Sure. Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners. Tony Barnes, Budget Officer. The changes in the change memo include the changes that were approved in the city's budget this morning for general fund. Also, carryover of housing dollars, approximately $4 million that's identified in Exhibit A. The one change that is different from what was distributed on May 9th would be the reduction of the B Corps, but that was included with the spring bump of $75,000 with the city budget approval this morning.
Caught that change from this morning. Okay.
So it's included in the revised Exhibit A before you at this moment.
Okay, do we need to amend the change memo, or that just is automatic because it's in our budget?
It's automatic for the document before you
Okay.
right now.
All right. Okay, any questions for Tony or for the team about the memo? Are there any council proposed amendments? Okay, hearing none. Anything further from our chair or our team? Thank you very much. Stand by in case we have questions. Is there any public testimony on the budget? Okay, come on up. Morning.
Good morning. My name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Watchdog PDX. As far as on the carryover on housing dollars, I do agree with that. Another issue pertaining to the Development Commission is I have a real issue on the way Centennial Mills was handled. And I know you're going to try to cut me off, Mayor. I do not like to see a prominent developer such as Jordan Schnitzer pushed to the side on a development deal. As you know, we had Bob Scanlon in here, John Russell, and other numerous developers that are well known through the city. That you could count on both your hands between all those people. And it's a very tight network. They have the ability to invest a tremendous amount of money in this city, and they have the ability to make phone calls and decide they want to invest a tremendous amount of money in other states. And if you negotiate deals and pick and choose and push them from one deal to do another deal, such as the United States Post Office, and you think that's your legacy, think again. You do not step on the toes of developers that have the ability in this city to bring in tremendous amount of money to invest in the city, or decide with their friends and other developers, no, we'll invest in California. No, we'll just invest in Seattle. No, we decided to invest in Arizona. You have to have discretion. And when you have developers standing up and saying, I don't feel I've been treated right on this deal, you better listen real close. You better listen real close and understand that what their decisions are to end up investing in this city affects everybody in this room, even down to the most vulnerable people, when they decide they want to make donations, when they decide, like Bob Scanlon, who has so much money, and if he wanted to donate to any foundation. He's right up there along Joe Weston and half these other developers. You better take them serious and understand, do not step on their toes. We had a past our mayor that stepped on some toes of developers, and let me tell you something. It was nothing to do with the recession on why their budget was a deficit. They decide where they want to place their money. Portland is looking very good at this time because of Mayor Hales, and you better understand that. Do not step on the toes of the developers. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, almost. I'm Block U. Oh, no, I'm Charles Johnson. I think Block U is fully out of the inventory, but we're seeing some delay getting a health department headquarters on that property. The reason I mentioned it is because regardless of how fantabulous the PDC.US budget looks on paper, there's no denying that anytime you go to visit Bud Clark Commons, we walk right past an empty city block. Some bizarre land banking. I don't know what the exact reason for that is, why the homeless people have to be out on the Springwater corridor and pushed around by the police. And I've never actually researched that particular block, but we generally know that vacant blocks get maintained by the PDC, the same PDC which in its budget is apparently doing some weird deal with the Oregon Department of Transportation to fence off and rent space under I-5 near the East Side River Fire Station. So these are relatively small things in the overall scope of the PDC budget. But I hope in these last few months of your term as mayor and as you work with the transition team for Ted Wheeler, that will open up the discussion with a broader community, not just developers, as that Mr. Lightning has referred to, but to make sure that the city really feels that the Portland Development Commission is an engine for good policies and prosperity for all of us, not a land banking cash cow for a limited network of developers who some people feel may not put enough back into their community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Just so you know, Mr. Johnson, that vacant lot, my understanding is it's going to be needed for construction staging of the development of the health care facility. And then secondly, we did look at it for Right to Dream 2, and it's contaminated, so it's not suitable for people to be on it.
And they spray weird stuff on it sometimes. I've gone by there. So, but I hope that we'll look forward to, finding a good project to go there. Maybe something that's similarly co-financed, like the St. Francis development. There's something new going in the Pearl, which has a large number of units. And once we clean up that brown soil land, I'm sure we can get some subsidized housing in there, especially because we're going to pass a wonderful, huge housing bond this fall.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fritz, I'd be remiss if I didn't also thank a prior council for agreeing to change the design of Bud Clark Commons. It was originally to be a 3-story suburban style project on Block U. By turning it into an urban form shape and taking half the block, we actually created the half block that now can become the home for the county health department. And that was, I thought that was a wonderful decision, and it created value, and that's what's given us this opportunity before.
Okay, so now we need to take a vote on that motion to approve the budget adjustments in Exhibit A of the change memo.
Is this and then we do the final vote, or is this the vote?
That is, we're voting to approve the adjustments, and then we vote to approve the budget as amended.
Okay.
So this is a vote
This
to
is the
approve the
penultimate vote.
adjustments. This is the penultimate, your favorite word, vote. Gina, please.
Fish,
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Novick,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Hales.
Aye. And now a motion, please, to approve the budget as amended.
Second.
Roll call.
Fish,
A lot of hard work has brought us to this day, and I think what I would like to focus on is thanking Patrick Quinton for his service to the city. I asked Commissioner Saltzman how long you've been in this position. We think it's about 5 years. Are we in the right ballpark? 5 years, and you can be very proud of the work that has been accomplished under your watch. And what I would say, having served on this body now for over 7 years, I appreciate the openness you brought under your leadership, the regular meetings you've held with council, the willingness to engage issues and find common ground, and then the good partnership. I hope you feel great pride in your service and what you've accomplished. And I know we'll have another opportunity down the road to embarrass you and thank you, but at least for purpose of this vote, thank you. And Chair Kelly, thank you for agreeing at the mayor's request to chair the Portland Development Commission. You also have another 2 or 3 full-time jobs that you have in addition to this. So this is pure service, and you are not compensated, and yet you do a lot for our community. So thank you for your service. And this budget has a lot of things that I like in it, and obviously no budget is perfect. But I also want to acknowledge that we did make your job more difficult by bumping the TIF to 45 for affordable housing. And that had a domino effect in other priorities within the Bureau. When we made the change to take housing out and to focus on economic development, I think at the time it was the right call, and we ended up with 2 organizations that were stronger as a result. But the challenge that is we're going to have to embrace going forward is how to give the Portland Development Commission stable and sustainable funding going forward. And inevitably, I think that's going to mean a different model because we're not going to be able to rely on TIF in the way we have in the past. And I look forward to working with a future council and crafting a new vision for the Portland Development Commission that inevitably requires it to be more entrepreneurial. And I, for one, would like to see some of the properties that the city manages be turned over to Portland Development Commission to become asset generators to provide a base of funding for the good work you do. But to everyone who participated in this budget and brought us to this moment, thank you, and a special thank you to Patrick. Aye.
Saltzman,
Well, I'd like to also recognize Patrick Quinton for his tenure as executive director. He's done a great job, and really to the board of the PDC with Chair Kelly and the other board members for all the hard work that they put into this budget, and to being PDC commissioners. It's a lot of work, a lot of hearings. As Commissioner Fish said, there's no compensation for that. But you are our economic engine, and you have definitely served this city well. I feel the city is as good a position as it's ever been in terms of the economy, job creation, and these are things that we can never take our eyes off of. We got to keep our eyes on that ball all the time, and that's what I count in part on the PDC to be doing. So thank you very much for the job you do. Aye.
Novick,
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Chair Kelly. Aye.
Fritz,
So I'm reminded of the comments Mayor Hales made regarding the lack of drama in the utilities budget, thanks to Commissioner Fisher's wise stewardship. And there was a time when Portland Development Commission budget hearings and pretty much every PDC hearing was filled with people very upset. And here we are, and they're not. So thank you, Patrick Quinton, for your leadership, Tom Kelly for your chairing of the board, Scott Andrews for his previous good work. You know, that since I've been on the council, we have moved and made good decisions, and the prosperity of the city is one of the outcomes of those good decisions. So they don't just happen, they happen because you have a strategic plan and because you implement it very carefully. Thanks to Kimberly Schneider for her work as well, and glad that you're going to be continuing with the commission. And thank you, Mayor Hales, for your leadership. Aye.
Hales,
Well, for PDC to be an effective community resource, there needs to be excellent volunteer leadership. And again, Tom, thank you and board members, and we'll soon be bringing forward a new board member to replace one who's unfortunately leaving us, who's done a great job. But we have to have a very small board, 5 people who do a great job of representing the whole city in all its diversity in the leadership. And that has to work, and it is working. So thank you, Tom. Second thing that has to work is we have to have an executive director who can lead the organization and get things done, and you have. I mentioned a couple earlier, a couple of others that I'm really proud of in terms of your work. Not easy stuff. You had to downsize this organization. No executive likes doing that. You led us through, with my support particularly, a right sizing of our urban renewal areas, where they are, what they do, and how much they take from the flow of tax revenues versus going to general government. And this council approved that big reform, and you helped us get through that in a very thoughtful way. And then a strategic plan that's now the direction for the agency that moves us from just building the city and creating jobs, good things, to building the city, creating jobs, and sharing prosperity. And it now has those 3 pillars undergirding the work. And we think of Patrick, I'll tease you a little bit, as, this very dignified executive, but I've seen him get very passionate in public about the subject of equity, talking to the community about the past wrongs that PDC has committed and how committed the agency is now to working with the community in partnership, and he means it. And that's one of the things that we'll miss, not having you at the helm at PDC. And then finally, we have to have good staff behind Patrick, and Tony, you and others, and PDC have done great work on this budget and in getting through all those difficult challenges. So I'm really proud of the work that we've done together. And Patrick, thank you. Again, thank you, because you've done well. And I know you'll do well in the future, but you've done well for Portland. Aye. Thank you all. Okay, let's move to our I have to close the PDC Budget Committee and reconvene as the City Council.
Thank you very much, Matt. Good stuff. 20. Mayor, I'll stick around to 21, 23. 24.
Okay, let's do the second reading items, Carla, which are 521, 522, and
523.
523 and 524. So let's take those, please, starting with 521.
521, correct and clarify fire regulations and adopt 2014 Oregon Fire Code with City of Portland amendments.
Roll call, please.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Hales.
Aye. 523.
Approve application under the multiple unit limited tax exemption program for Jarrett Street condominiums located at 5732 North Interstate Avenue.
Roll call, please.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Well, as I said last week, I'm very pleased that we are actually helping to do some affordable home ownership as opposed to rentals. These are condos and people who own these have equity and prosperity. Aye.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Hales.
Aye. And 524.
Vacate a portion of Northwest 101st Street Avenue, south of Northwest Thompson Road, subject to certain conditions and reservations.
Roll call.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Hales.
Aye. Okay, so now let's return to the balance of the regular agenda. Go to item 518, please. Oh, no, we got to go to 513.
Yeah.
Sorry.
513, revised transportation fees, rates, and charges for fiscal year 2016-17, and fix an effective date.
Commissioner Novick.
Colleagues, this is PBOT's annual update of fees for permits for use of or work in the public right-of-way and parking regulatory fees. These fees align with our goals of achieving cost recovery, managing growth, and improving safety as a Vision Zero city. And I will turn it over to Dave Benson and Christine Leon.
Good morning. My name is Christine Leon, and I'm the manager of the Portland Bureau of Transportation's Development, Permitting, and Transit Group. And with me is Dave Benson, who is our Parking and Regulatory Manager. So just very quickly, again, this is our annual fee update, which is a compilation of the fees and permits for use of the right-of-way. Of the 6 schedules of fees that are attached to this ordinance, they are essentially used for staff reviewing the requests to use or construct in the right-of-way against our standards and regulations, for providing customer service, for establishing impacts and mitigations, for permit issuance, insurance and risk setting, tracking and database management, inspection, enforcement, parking use, regulatory, and other administrative requirements. So again, this is a summary of all the things that transportation does and allows people to do in the public right-of-way. So for the highlights this year, we have achieved our target of development funding its own way with our fee increases in Schedule B. And development is high and continues to be high. We are experiencing a lot of growth in the city, a lot of permitting, and with the increases, we will be able to be at cost recovery for development. So I'm proud to say that. The other focus is on Vision Zero and our efforts to make sure that all types of transportation, pedestrians, bicyclists, auto traffic, truck traffic, that they're all accommodated during construction for our developments. So that's reflected mainly in our Schedule D, and then later this year, you will see a resolution coming to council about some of our administrative rules that we're making to really prioritize the accommodation through work zones. So with that, I will turn it over to Dave Benson, see if he wants to do any highlights, and then we will take questions.
Okay, thank you.
Well, good afternoon now, Mayor and Council. My name's Dave Benson. I'm the Parking Services Manager for PBOT. I'll just give you some of the highlights on parking garages. As you know, we implemented a low-cost swing shift permit for low-income workers for the Smart Park garages, $35 a month. We've proposing to adjust the rates in the Smart Park garages, not all of them, but most of them, usually around monthly rates from about $5 to $20, just to keep pace with the market. We do market research once a year to inform those. For the first time, we've applied a metric to the cost of carpooling permits. We're now recommending 75% of the monthly rate. You will see an increase in the Central East Side area parking permits. That is a Central East Side Business Industrial Council recommended that, and those collected fees returned to them in excess of our cost, so they can do transportation safety projects. And lastly, you know well the fee structure for the private for hire, the 50-cent ride fee for taxis and TNCs, and then we are not recommending any changes for the balance of the industry. Thank you.
And how much money has the 50-cent ride fee brought into the city?
Thus far, we just issued, I don't know that we've collected, but on April 21st, we issued invoices totaling $586,000 for the first quarter of this year.
And how many people have taken advantage of the low-income Smart Park swing shift?
At my
permit?
last check-in, 15. It's been a slow start, but we expect it to pick up.
Yeah, I would appreciate a commitment to come back and ask us to, or with some changes if it
I'd be happy
doesn't.
to. We're doing outreach to businesses, labor, and other groups to incent folks to apply for it. So I'm hoping that increases.
Yeah, the challenge is that certainly for the retail workers, the hours don't work. So I'd be surprised if you get all that many more folks. And I think that was part of the target. So let's do the outreach to see if we can make sure that people know it's available. But then there may be a need to go back and look at the program as structured, because I'm not skeptical that it's meeting the retail workers' needs.
Absolutely.
Okay, other questions? Anything else you need to cover? All right, thank you very much.
I have just one other question. That's about the downtown marketing initiative. Usually there's a discussion from the Portland Business Alliance and others about that program in conjunction with parking fees. And so where is that at in the Portland Bureau of Transportation budget?
Yeah, that is paid for out of Smart Park revenues, and it is scheduled to this coming year at $250,000.
And that is the same as it has been?
No, it was $500,000 last year. So it's 50% of what it was.
If we get testimony about that, thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's see if there's anyone here that wants to testify on this item. Anyone signed up? Anyone want to speak? Okay, then it will pass to second reading next week, right? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. All right, let's move to the rest of the regular agenda, starting with 518.
We'll do the pulled consent item first.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, let's do the pulled consent item, which is 514. If Mark is here, there he is, yes. 514, please.
Authorized settlement between Portland Police Association and the City of Portland through its Portland Police Bureau regarding employment claims.
Okay, Mr. Amberg has a substitute exhibit, I believe, right?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and council members. Mark Amberg, City Attorney's Office. We have a substitute exhibit to go along with this ordinance, proposed ordinance. It's the fully signed version of the settlement agreement. The version that was presented with the ordinance did not have all signatures on it. That's the only change from the exhibit that was attached to the ordinance.
Okay, so is there a motion to substitute this, is this a full substitute?
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, motion to adopt the substitute.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Hales.
Aye. Anyone want to speak on this item? Come on up.
Now, truly, good afternoon. For the record, my name is Charles Johnson, and the vast majority of our police officers work hard and diligently and in good conscience. And I'm pleased to see that the Police Association has opened up discussions about many things that could improve the environment for retaining and improving the officer staffing. But when mistakes happen, taxpayers foot the bill, and transparency and open data are better served by reviewing how often and how much the city has had to pay out for regrettable incidences with the police resulting in violence or death. On this particular incident, I note that we're not saying any particular dollar amounts on the record for people that aren't looking this stuff up on the internet and don't have the copy of the substitute agreement before them. So, you're not living up to your best standards. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pass what's been provided and put this behind us, but, we could do better. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, any questions for Mark? Okay, it's an emergency ordinance, so let's take a vote, please.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
As was stated, the substitute merely adds the signatures. Aye.
Hales.
Aye. Okay, let's move to 518.
Report on year 1 implementation of citywide tree project.
And I understand the request is to refer that back to Commissioner Chris's office?
Yes, please, for 2 weeks.
Okay, so ordered. 519.
519, approve fiscal year 2016-17 cost of living adjustments to pay rates for non-represented classifications and elected officials, specify the effect upon employees in the classifications involved, and provide for payment.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Nunes, and I'm with the Bureau of Human Resources. I'm the class count manager, and I'm here to present an ordinance to provide a 1% cost of living adjustment in the 2016-17 budget. It would be effective July 1, and it is covering non-represented classifications, employees, and elected officials, should they choose to receive it. The total cost is $1,624,000, and $755,000 of it is from the general fund, and the remaining $869,000 is non-general fund bureaus.
Okay, thanks, Elizabeth. Questions about the ordinance? Okay, thank you very much. Anyone want to speak on this item?
Mr. Wilkins signed up.
Okay, come on up.
I'm Shedrick Wilkins, and on this one, I kind of want to be funny. I have a friend who criticizes the fact that the mayor or various people take foreign trips and vacations. Can't you take salary increases and dump it into some travel fund so that these foreign trips are kind of not something that you get as being mayor or elected official? But one more funny thing I'd like to say is, why don't you send a laptop or something to a foreign country and have a virtual mayor that sits there and looks like he's attentively watching the meeting while he hears everything in his lounge chair in the backyard, and put Portland, Oregon on it. Another thing, when you go to a global warming conference or something in Paris, you're flying in a jet plane. So why don't you just insist that maybe we could do that with electronic communication?
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, this passes the second reading. 522.
accept a grant in the amount of $96,999 from the University of Utah for Pay for Success Innovation Fellowship Program to advance the City of Portland's Green and Healthy Homes Initiative.
Commissioner Salzman.
I'm excited to announce that the Housing Bureau has received a competitive grant from the University of Utah of $100,000 to perform a feasibility analysis of a pay-for-success funding model for our Green and Healthy Homes Initiative. And it's a great thing, and we'll use it to deal with issues, integrated issues like, well, maybe I'll turn it over to you to speak in more detail.
Sure. My name is David Chern. I'm a program coordinator with the Housing Bureau. Excuse me. We were delighted to receive the award. It's a national program run through the White House Initiative, Pay for Success. It helps agencies develop feasibility analysis of using social impact bonds. We intend to use the money to hire a limited term FTE to help us work through our Green and Healthy Homes Initiative to see what the downstream savings are in that program that we could potentially use to explore social impact bond financing in the future.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Thanks very much. Anyone want to speak on this item? If not, then it passes second reading. 525.
Authorized contract with Greenworks PC for master planning services for Mill and Midland Parks at a not-to-exceed amount of $119,859.
Fritz.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance authorizes a contract for the master planning of 2 parks in East Portland. Prioritizing these plans is another step towards increasing access to parks for all Portlanders, including those in East Portland who have historically had fewer parks compared with others areas of the city. The council allocated the money for this in the last budget process, and I greatly appreciate it. We went back to the community and asked which of the many unplanned parks in East Portland they would like us to start on, and these 2 were amongst them. After these 2 parks are master planned and developed, they will serve over 1,150 new households that currently do not have a neighborhood park within a half mile. The public involvement process for master planning these parks will include intentional outreach to historically underserved or not served populations, including immigrant and refugee communities and communities of color. Maya Argual, I'm looking at the phonetics and I got it right without.
Agarwal, but that's close
Agarwal,
enough.
Thank you. From Portland Parks and Recreation is here to tell us about the project.
Good afternoon, Mayor Hales and City Commissioners. I'm Maya Agarwal, a city planner with the Portland Parks and Recreation Bureau. And Portland Parks and Recreation continues to deliver on its commitment to expand parks and recreation opportunities for the communities and neighborhoods in East Portland. As Commissioner Fritz mentioned, in November 2014, City Council designated $300,000 from 2014's fall supplemental budget for new master plans for East Side parks. In April 2015, Portland Parks and Recreation, the East Portland Neighborhood Organization Parks Committee, and Commissioner Amanda Fritz engaged the community in a public outreach process to determine which sites should be prioritized as part of the East Side Park master planning process. As part of our analysis, Mill and Midland Parks received our highest equity score of 15 points in recognition of its diverse demographics. And based on the public outreach process and Portland Park and Recreation staff input, Commissioner Fritz chose to fund master plans for Mill Park and Midland Park in a concurrent process. Mill and Midland Parks are important public spaces for the community, and their master plans will ensure that future generations can continue to enjoy the wide variety of experiences the Portland parks offer. The prioritization of these plans is consistent with our Parks 2020 vision, which seeks to have every Portlander within 1/2 mile of a park. Through a competitive process, Greenworks PC was selected as the consultant to provide planning, project management, and public involvement services to create a master plan for Mill and Midland Parks. Due to the demographics of the population surrounding the parks, Portland Parks anticipates significant outreach for both projects. Numerous diverse communities and groups reside in and support the area and would be served by the parks. Residents of the David Douglas School District speak 71 different languages. The top 6 languages are Spanish, Russian, Vietnamese, Chinese, Ukrainian, and Somali. The racial, ethnic background of the population of the David Douglas School District is varied, and household incomes are relatively low. Development of the master plan will include a robust citizen participation process with focused outreach to historically underrepresented populations, including minority, youth, disabled, immigrant, refugee, and non-English speaking populations. 4 out of 5 evaluators who reviewed and recommended awarding this consultant contract are community members who live and/or work in East Portland. Portland Parks and Recreation asks the council to authorize a professional, technical, and expert services contract with Greenworks PC for master planning services for Mill and Midland Parks at a not-to-exceed amount of $119,859.18.
Colleagues, the minority and women participation in this contract is over 18%, including 13% women and minority-owned firms. And in case you're wondering what's happening to the rest of the money, that's going to be used for master planning the 150th and Division property, and we'll be bringing that separately.
Good. Other questions? Thank you both very much. Thank you. Anyone want to speak on this item? If not, it's an emergency ordinance, so let's take a vote, please.
Saltzman?
Aye.
Novick?
Aye.
Thank you very much. This is very exciting. We don't yet have the funds dedicated to do any improvements that the community might develop in this process, but the first step is getting the master plan done so that we can go for grants and other things. Thank you. Aye.
The systematic planning and development of parks in East Portland is one of the best things we're doing, so I appreciate this. Aye. Okay, one more item for this morning's agenda, and that's 526.
Amend Park System Development Charge Capital Improvements Plan to update the project list.
Commissioner Fritz.
Thank you, Mayor. The Portland Parks and Recreation System development charges cover a portion of the cost to provide parks and recreation facilities needed to service Portland's growing community. They can't be used for existing deficits. They are used to expand capacity. They're used only for capital improvements that increase the capacity to offset the impacts of new development. Capacity increasing projects must be on the Parks System Development Charge Capital Improvement Project list to be eligible for System Development Charge funds. It's important to update regularly the Parks SDC CIP, or System Development Charge Capital Improvement Project list, to reflect a current list of candidate capacity increasing projects. This ordinance amends the CIP list, which was approved about a year ago. Trang Lam, Property and Business Development Manager from Portland Parks and Recreation, will now tell us more about the ordinance, and we have a substitute.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, or actually, good afternoon now. Mayor and Commissioners, my name is Trang Lam. I'm the Property and Business Development Manager for Parks. I'm here today to amend the Parks System Development Charge Capital Improvement Plan. About a year ago, Council adopted Ordinance 187150, which updated our Parks System Development Charge methodology. It also updated our Code and Charter of 17.13, and then finally it updated our Park System Development Charge Capital Improvement Plan, or also known as the SDC CIP list, to be implemented starting July 1st, 2016. So that's coming right up. As required by state statute, Parks and Recreation maintains a list of capacity increasing projects intended to address the needs created by growth. This SDC CIP list is a list of projects eligible to be funded with SDC revenue, and is based on our 20-year Parks System Improvement Plan. So this is a eligible list. It is not a funded list. And our Capital Improvement Plan is actually updated annually. So the SDC CIP list is a living document, and per state statute, we may be able to modify it at any time per council approval. Changes to the SDC CIP list does not affect our parks' SDC rates. And I do apologize for the exchange in the Exhibit A. My program manager is out on maternity leave, so I had a little bit of technical difficulty with the Excel sheet. So wanted to give you a highlight of what we've done here with the updated 2016 Parks SDC CIP list. It gives and provides a more detailed categories for our CIP list. So first, you'll see that we have included an SDC zone, which provides for projects that are in central city or non-central city. Then we've provided a column for programs such as acquisitions, buildings and pools, new park development, recreational features, and then trails, roads, and utilities. And then the third and fourth row is our site and project name. And under the project name, it better describes the project itself. And then next to that is our percentage of growth, which identifies eligibility of SDC funding for each project. So it could be fully eligible or it could be partially eligible for SDC funding. And then the next couple rows there will be estimate of project cost and timing. We've estimated the cost and timing based upon a year 1 through 5, 6 through 10, and then 11 to 20. Project implementation, as you know, is based on many factors, including needs, priorities, opportunities, and other sources such as staffing. And because of these uncertainties of these factors, it's impossible for us to estimate with any degree of reliability a more specific timing than the 5-year breakdown in the plan. Additionally, Parks does do an annual work plan, so we do plan for the following fiscal year, which is reviewed by both our Commissioner's Office and then our Director as well. And then the last two columns, what you'll see is a 20-year total for all projects. And then finally, the last row is a total of costs for eligibility for SDC funding. So those two rows actually do not match, are not the exact number, because one is about total project costs and the other one is about what's eligible for SDC funding.
$1.2 billion.
That is $1.2 billion.
That's a lot of money.
To be clear, we do not have that much money.
And nor will development necessarily provide anywhere near that, but
No.
Absolutely, yeah.
it's the universal list. I just have one technical question.
Yes.
And that is, so the percentage of the park that can be, a percentage of the improvement that can be funded by SDCs based on growth is either set at 50 or 100, or actually in one case it's 0, which I'm not sure about. But I assume if it's 0, it's not on the list. Do we get to do this? I assume we get to do this. That is, just pick either 50 or 100. We don't have to be more fine-grained than that in the percentage of the improvement that is SDC eligible under the law?
Currently, what we have right here is a very basic understanding of a project. And so what we're saying is that either a project is fully eligible or partially. And right now, we're making an estimate of that partial.
Okay.
So the placeholder is 50. For Red Tail, we're saying 0 at this point because it is an enterprise fund. And we may be just funding it with the enterprise funding.
But so when it gets to a real project, it might not be
It will be
50
refined,
It
yes.
might not be 50 or 100, it might be 63 or something.
Absolutely, yeah, yes,
So when you get to cost estimates, that's when it changes.
yes.
All right, now I get it. Other questions? Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Anything else on this item? Is there anyone that wants to speak on this item? If not, then it moves to second reading.
Were we voting on the amendment?
Vote the
Oh, we
substitute.
got to move the substitute, sorry, yeah. So the substitute's before us. Commissioner Fritz moves the substitute. Is there a second? And let's vote to adopt the substitute.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
I thank you for your work.
Hales.
Very much so, aye. Okay, so now it moves to second reading, and we're recessed till 2 p.m., at which point Commissioner Novick and I will not be here because we're going to be meeting with the Secretary of Transportation.
Good luck, good luck,
Thank
good
you.
luck.
Commissioner Fish will be presiding, and the three of you have the command of the enterprise. We'll see you then.